to the MTR Network. This is Kriss and Phenom here. We were going to have a third person. We were going to have Jackson on, but he couldn't make it. He says he has somewhere to be, but I think he just didn't want to review this movie. We already have a written review up. We're doing an audio review for Logan, the third Wolverine film. It's rated R. In the near future, a wary Logan cares for an ailing Professor X in a hideout on the Mexican border, but Logan's attempts to hide from the world and his legacy are upended when a young mutant arrives being pursued by dark forces. It is directed by and written by James Mangold, who I believe also did the second Wolverine film, The Wolverine. Yeah, here we go, man. So people already have seen my review of it, and I've kind of going on this. What do you think of this film, man?
I just think it's boring. I just think it's boring. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. I think it's boring, and I really don't need to see this again. And I kind of hope that this is the last one, because I don't connect. Like, I think Marvel has a way of. It's like Marvel has a way of making these like simple stories, and they do a lot of action and stuff, and they're like brighter superhero films, right? DC is, questionable, and people got a lot of problems with it. They try to be more in depth, more emotional, it seems, darker, grainier, et cetera, et cetera. So they kind of like split themselves. And then Fox just falls dead center of, I think, trying to do both, but at the same time being a drama. And while I get that, and I don't think that's a bad angle to take it from, like when M. Night Shyamalan is making better fucking superhero movies than you at this point, I can't care enough to care. So when I'm watching Logan, and the big thing with this movie is that there are no mutants left, and it's the children of men of mutant films. What the fuck, man? Like, did y'all just get tired of dealing with mutants? Could you imagine having a Transformers film with one Transformer in it? One Fast and Furious film with just the Fast, no Furious. I can't rock with it. And you're watching Logan, and like I read today that they're gonna be releasing a black and white version of this.
Oh my
Why?
God. Are you serious? Are they really?
They're doing too much. They're making it over dramatic for a film that they didn't even put that much effort into writing a script for. It is the most bland X-Men film. It is the most unseasoned white meat chicken X-Men film ever.
It's an unseasoned X-Men. That's what this is. It's unseasoned X-Men.
About Logan, and we're gonna make it rated R, so we're gonna have him stab a couple of people through the chin and cut some people's arms off when they do fight. We're gonna have this little girl who is the most interesting damn thing in the fucking movie. Like I like her. I thought she was cool. I thought her story was, it is what it is. It's Logan's story, like father, like daughter, I guess. I don't like what they did with Patrick Stewart and the Professor X character. I don't like that.
Well, he wasn't Professor X. He was, what he gave me sometimes? He gave me a Bullock from American Dad sometimes.
Yeah.
He gave me some of that. It's just he wasn't Professor X. I mean, but that goes with I've said my piece. Yeah.
They didn't explain anything. Like that's my biggest gripe with it. They set up all this stuff. There are no X-Men. Why? Professor X is tripping. Why? This girl is trying to find these kids so they can run across the border. Why? It's just all this stuff going on. There are these robotic trucks on the interstate. Why? You can't show me a 2005 Volkswagen and then show me a 2070 Mack truck and expect me to not be confused as to the era of this film. They keep talking about how far in the future it's supposed to be, but it's really only like, 10 years in the future from now or something like that?
It's only 10 years in the future. Well, so it feels like a product that they just wanted you to co-sign them on. Like, we could explain stuff, but y'all should just want to ride with us. It's like getting in the car with that cousin that
is up to some shit and he don't never want to tell you where y'all going. Yo, homie, where we going? Don't even worry about it, dog. I got you. This whole film is don't even worry about it, dog. I got you. And by the end of it, you don't got me.
Yeah, it's the film annoys me because forget my normal gripes about X-Men and not being like Source. Forget all that. Like at this point, 17 years in, we're what 9, 10 films into this. Like I know what I'm getting. Like I know that they weren't going to give me the Wolverine and Logan I wanted. Fine. My biggest gripe with this film is you can't pretend like you're not making a cinematic universe film, but then at the same time do it. Like ever since First Class, Fox has done this thing where they sit on the fence and they don't have to go out there and decide whether they want to commit to their other films in the franchise or not. And so what you have in Logan is you have this film where, hey, like you said, the premise, if you're going, just forget how I feel about the other X-Men films. Okay, fine. We're at the, mutant kind got wiped out by something. They don't tell us what. For the most part, Logan's old and aging. His healing factor is almost gone. Professor X is fucking crazy. And you're basically at the end of the ropes. Fine. You have to set that up though, because the last film in the X-Men universe that was close enough to this timeline was Days of Future Past. And at the end of Days of Future Past, we see the happy ending where Jean's still alive, Cyclops is alive, and that was, I believe, 2023. This film is 2029. So what happened those 6 years? You don't go. And remember, Days of Future Past was the movie where they had to do all that stuff. The entire premise of that film was we have to save the future, because if we don't do that, they're going to be Sentinels and they're going to wipe out the X-Men. They're going to wipe out the mutant kind. That's what's going to happen. So you end Days of Future Past with saving that, and only to get to Logan where you're like, oh well, we're gonna, I guess, pretend that didn't happen, and then also somehow tie into now the first Wolverine film, which we all kind of were like, we're gonna pretend that didn't happen. And it's just like, to me, you can't be a good film if you can't even keep your own continuity right. Forget the comic books. Your own continuity doesn't make sense. It would be like if we watched the Hunger Games and you get to that last Hunger Games film and it's set 20 years in the future, or the next Hunger Games is 20 years in the future, and somehow the president died and you don't know what happened. Like, you don't know how we got there. All of a sudden, this is a happy ending, and you're like, well, what happened in between? And they don't tell you. I think on its own, individually, is this a good film? Yeah, it can be, but you have to set that up. You can't just go into there and tell me, well, right. I mean, it's just
like, why is, I mean, from your perspective, why is this a good film on its own?
Oh no, I mean, I'm saying from other people's perspective, because it's not really mine. Because I don't think it's necessarily a bad film. I'm with you. I think it's boring as shit. I think it's very, very boring. I think they added in the action scenes of Wolverine cutting people's arms off and sticking them in the head to distract people from the fact that in between those scenes, you're bored out of your fucking mind.
Like, I can tell you why it's not a bad film, but I cannot for the life of me tell you why it's a good film. So somebody's like, yo, Phenom, why isn't it a bad film? It's not a bad film because despite me not knowing what the fuck is going on with Professor X, I still thought his character was entertaining in some scenes, despite him being delusional as fuck. The little girl, I liked her character a lot. I really did.
Yeah.
The reason they gave it an R rating, the cutting off some limbs in the scenes where there is fighting, I thought that was, despite it being this typical Hugh Jackman way of fighting, and he still can't fight for shit.
No.
Okay, this film opens up with him getting his ass whooped. I still like that gruesome, gory element, because that's really the only part of Wolverine that we're getting out of these Wolverine films with this rated R rating. and some of the action sets, they were okay. They weren't great, but they were okay.
You know why this?
Um,
You know why I would say this is a good film? I think acting wise, it's good, and I think the problem is if here's the thing: if you took this film, took Wolverine out of it, and what I mean by that, take the Wolverine brand out, take Mutant, take X Men, take the X Men branding off of this. I think it's a good, decent film. I think this is one of those films you go, oh well, that was interesting. It's a post-apocalyptic world. It's something it's something we've kind of seen before, but okay. When you add the X Men part in there, though, it just adds me with a lot of questions as to, well, how did we get here?
that's the whole like this dystopian look that they try to give this, even though it's clearly present day. That was lazy. The whatever those Reapers or whatever the fuck those dudes
Oh yeah,
are,
well,
with the which isn't explained at all. Like, if you killed all the mutants, then why the fuck do these dudes have enhancement? Man, okay, you know what? Whatever, man. And they only have one enhancement.
yeah,
They're good.
well,
They got the strong arm enhancement.
well, this is the thing that you always hear from critics of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Which I think again, nobody's ever saying Marvel's perfect and things like that. Things they can work on. They always complain about the villains, right? Always complain about the villains. Oh well, they don't have good villains and they fuck up with the villains. All right, cool. Who's the villain? This is another film where just like Days of Future Past, who's the fucking villain? Who's the villain in this film? Like
Wolverine. I don't.
yeah,
I don't like. I don't know. Like mental state.
like
Silent.
right. I mean,
I don't fucking villain. I don't. I really don't know who the villain was, what the driving force was, and I also think, and this really got to me. There is a scene where they meet a family, and what ends up happening, I thought, was completely over the top and unnecessary, and everybody's fault.
here's the thing.
But I hated that scene. I was
No,
like,
I did too.
really, dude? Like this is what? Seriously? Well, that's fucked up.
I hated that scene too, mainly because once again, we have Fox completely disrespecting people of color, as far as I'm concerned. We were literally throwaway props to them, and
Like they had Spanish people, so they were cool shitting on other people of color.
yeah, I mean it just yeah, I mean this film. This film is one of those films where they just try so hard to not be a superhero film. Like, and I've said this about the X-Men films before. I feel like the X-Men films and what Fox is doing is they're made by people who don't want to admit that, hey, it's okay to like comic books. And comic books can be adult without you removing every piece of identity from them. Perfect example, Mango came out and was talking about why Logan isn't in his costume in this film. Which here's the thing, I don't even think that he needed to be in this costume in this film. I think when you're doing this storyline, it makes sense that he's not in there. But what pissed me off was Mango's responses to why. His response is basically, well, wouldn't that be silly to put him in yellow? And that's just a silly thing to do, that he's in the middle of doing something. He runs and goes, puts his costume on. I'm like, motherfucker, yes. Yes, we want that. Because that's what we go to see the fucking films for. That's what we go to see Wolverine for. We want to see him in the costume. We want to see that shit. And it just comes to me that there's a... They remind me of those people who decades ago were making fun of you because you read comic books. Oh, you're a nerd. You like comic books. And I'm like, yeah, we're past that now. You can like comic books, and that's fine. That's normal. They can be adults. They can deal with adult concepts. Just slapping an R rating on it and then having Hugh Jackman basically be Hugh Jackman, which is what he did in this film. Like I think Hugh Jackman deserves a lot of credit for wanting to be Wolverine and wanting to be Logan and putting in 17 years of worth of work. A lot of credit for that. But the last few years, he's just been Hugh Jackman with claws.
I feel like it was cheap. I feel like a lot of the shit that they did in this film that was supposed to be like huge reveal or surprise was very cheap. I think what they did to Professor Xavier was cheap. I think what they did to Wolverine as their explanation for why he's aging like this was cheap. I think that what they did with the surprise villain was extremely fucking cheap.
Oh no, that was
It was
cheap. Very, very, very
got
cheap. You
it
see it
was
coming a mile away. You see it coming a mile away, and it's cheap as fuck.
And I think what they ended up doing with the kid with the kid in the end, and this new whatever movement or generation or whatever, I honestly thought that was kind of cheesy too. There were a lot of moments when we were watching this where we kind of looked at each other and we were like, why didn't they do this instead of what they're doing right now on screen? Especially with the kid.
Yeah.
Especially the kid, as powerful as she is. Why didn't they do more with her in certain scenes? Blew my mind. It just blew my mind because I was like, you have this story where you basically have this Logan character who kind of, it seems like, just doesn't want to live anymore, and this girl shows up and she is more of a fucking animal than he's ever been.
No,
in these
they nailed Wolverine with Daphne Keene's Laura X-23. That is what you watch her in this film, from her movements, from her fighting, from her behavior. You know, she's the Wolverine you want. Even down to, yes, you know, Wolverine isn't always feral. He's not always going berserk. But when he does, you want him acting like she does when she goes berserk and when she goes feral. Like her movement. I mean, there's times when she's like kind of crawling on all fours, and there's one time when she was kind of sneaking around. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we want. She's flipping around. She's jumping around. Like, I'm like, this is the Wolverine we've wanted for 17 years and we've never gotten. Yep. And I think that her fight scenes were definitely the best in the film. And yep. She, at the end of the day, she becomes the most interesting character in this film. And
he doesn't talk more than half the damn film. And is the most interesting character.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because again, this little girl, Daphne Keene, she, like you said, the first half of the film, she doesn't even talk, but everything she does, you feel in the way she. I mean, again, there are moments in this film where you're like, oh man, you guys have something here that can go there if you went there. But there's so, I feel like this is a film that's so busy trying to admire itself that it doesn't even realize what it has.
Oh, it's definitely jerking itself off, and yeah. and as we pointed out, like if there was a reason I was going to tell you to go see this, it's to see the girl. Yeah. It's just to see what could have been Wolverine for the last 17 years. There's absolutely no excuse for why Wolverine could not have been a calculated feral fighter throughout these X-Men series. There just is no point. And the whole him getting his ass whooped so he gets tired of it and then starts slicing people up has been Singer and them's cheap fucking trope for X-Men series films from the beginning. It's the Rocky methodology of action, and it's sickening. Like, I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about the costumes. Listen, if you were in a fucking if you've been in a theater, if you're in a theater, and as much as people hate this movie, if you were in a theater during previews, or even if you were in the theater when Batman vs Superman came out, and despite sitting through 2 hours of that film and being bored out of some people's minds or just confused as hell or tired of the darkness that was coming out of it, when Wonder Woman showed up in her fucking attire, yep. People in the theater lost their shit. They went crazy because that's what they've been following for years. And this idea that comic books, and I just started reading comic books like 3 years ago. I'm fucking 32, man. This idea that comic books are immature, the whole reason I even read them now is because I didn't realize they were as adult as they were. Like, they are insanely mature and very reflective of a lot of the stuff that you as an adult may deal with without even having superpowers. The powers just make it more interesting when you're reading certain things. So that's just a cheap ass cop, man, to be like, well, these films, they're childish. Are they childish? Yeah. Are they childish? Because people, I mean, look at our presidency right now. Look at our fucking country.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that this is how adults act. So you want to real representation of humanity within these characters that supposedly are supernatural or extraordinary. Then films like the X-Men did that with characters. Like, they had a character who couldn't fall in love with somebody because she couldn't touch him.
Right.
That's a real trope. Like, they had a black leading character who was still weak in some instances. as strong and as powerful as she was. Like, they had a character who could feel the emotions of all mutants around the planet, and that's why he wanted to save them. And then they had another character who was the Malcolm X and shit, and tired of being, beaten down by humanity, by normal humanity, people they were stronger than. Like, the fucking whole Black experience was in that character. So it's just cheap to turn the X-Men universe into this sad ass, not even good enough for an FX drama series of films.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, Legion might be 10 times better than the shit we've been watching for the last 17 years.
Yeah. I was just thinking about this. Like, and again, this film is so busy trying to admire itself and pat itself on its back for not being like other superhero films. It doesn't do what it needs to do. I'm sorry, this is a film. Forget being a superhero film. Forget being a comic book film. All right? If you're going to set this world up, you can't constantly tease us, well, what happened to mutants? And make that a big thing. And because obviously it's weighing on Charles Xavier. It's obviously weighing on Logan. But you don't explain it. And I'm sorry, you don't get to do that when the entire emotional weight of this film is dependent on there not being any mutants and there not being any new mutants created and things like you can't just plop us into this story and expect us to care. Like, no. First of all, we only care that that's Charles Xavier because we've seen Charles Xavier before. We only care that this is Logan because we've seen Logan before. So you don't get to then also go, well, it doesn't matter how we got here. Well, no. We're only watching this film because of why we got here. Like, it's such, like you said, it's so fucking lazy that it doesn't do that. And I can't, I get why people are letting that slide, but you would never let that slide in any other film. You would never let this slide in any other franchise. If Harry Potter did this, or if Lord of the Rings did this, or if Hunger Games did this, you would be upset. And I feel like it's just constant disrespect of the source material, of it not being adult enough already that they have to, well, we're going to clean it up. And I'm like, well, forget that. You're not even doing the bare minimum of what you need to be films. Like, you're being lazy here. I think the other thing too that I hope, because again, I think a lot of more people are not going to be like us and they're going to like the film. And I kind of already know who's going to like this film and who's not.
I'm already ready for people to tell me that this is the best X-Men film they've seen. This is this X-Men film they've seen. It was a good movie. They really connected with the story of the father and the daughter and the child and all the other stuff they just didn't care about. They don't care about why X-Men aren't here. They don't care about that this isn't explained. That's just not how I watch films, which is funny to me because people went and saw Get Out, which is an extremely well-written, like deep moment having film reflective of a particular social group and society. And if that had been done half-assed, can you imagine how much it would have been bashed? Versus now people are going to go see this film that could be reflective of a dystopian America in some near future, and they're going to be like, yeah, they don't have to explain any of that back shit they set up. I felt it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the emotional weight's not there. To help people out there, and some people might consider this a spoiler, but I think it's helping you manage your expectation. Mr. Sinister is not in this film. And I think that's important to know, because after seeing X-Men Apocalypse and that after credit scene there, and again they had the detour to Weapon X for no fucking reason, and they made a point of pulling out those Logan samples of his DNA in there with the Essex Corps logo on the briefcase, and make you say, "Oh, Mr. Sinister." Listen, do not wait for Mr. Sinister to show up in this film. 'Cause I think that kind of hurt me too. I'm waiting for one, because I'm waiting for there to be a big bad in this film. So I'm like, well, this character's got to be Mr. Sinister, right? He's got to be doing all this stuff. No Mr. Sinister in this. So, and again, it goes back to this whole idea of, why do you do anything in an X-Men film if it doesn't matter? Like, what was the point of Days of Future Past if that ending didn't matter? What was the point of telling us for years and years now to forget Wolverine Origins if you're then going to bring back the adamantium bullet that was shot at Logan in X-Men Origins? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. The other thing too, what you got to remember is the Wolverine films themselves have no connective tissue to each other, because the Wolverine doesn't lead into this film. The Wolverine leads into Days of Future Past. And again, like I said, if anything, this film ties more into X-Men Origins Wolverine, the first Wolverine film, than anything else. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. They bring in Stephen Merchant, who plays Caliban, who was in the character was in X-Men Apocalypse, but played by somebody else. I don't know if this is supposed to be the same Caliban or if it's. Again, I have no idea how this is supposed to work, but and people go, well, it doesn't need to be connected, so it can have weight and blah blah blah. But no, the only reason why we're here are because of these connections. You know, it's just it's frustrating. Like you said, the Reavers don't matter. The guy Boyd Holbrook plays Donald Pierce, and he might as well have been nobody.
I mean, he did a good job being a dick, but
right. I mean, might as well have been nobody. Like I said, X-23 is the biggest interest in this film. I mean, it tries so hard to be everything else but a comic book film. It's trying so hard to be, a down, depressing, dystopian future, even though it's not dystopian future because everything else is normal except for mutants.
Everybody's still 9 to 5 and shit, and there's a lot of people around everywhere. Like, they legit go to a spot that is now popular, that has a lot of people in it now, and it does not look upgraded or dystopian at all.
No, Logan is working as a limo driver. No bullshit. Sometimes in this film, you're literally watching Logan like literally just drive people.
I just don't understand why he's acting like this on a Thursday. It's a Thursday. Why is he acting like the world has ended and it's just Thursday? This whole film is one long Monday. That's all it is. It's one long Monday. And if somebody had said, "Hey, Phenom, while you're watching this, just know the whole film is based off of Mondays," I'd be like, I probably would have gave this film 5 out of 5. But the fact that it's not supposed to be that some stellar shit happened that we get no information on, and I guess you're just not supposed to care. I'm not built like everybody. I'm not built like these other people who watch these films and half-ass pay attention and don't care. I'm just not built like that. I feel like if you put the effort into writing some shit, like, make me feel it, make me believe it, help me connect. But if that's not what you about, if you just want to introduce some shit because you thought it was cool to bring it up, and then but to not like, if your follow through game is terrible, no, I'm gonna call you out on it. And these other reviewers and these other critics can be lazy as fuck about it, and they can act like follow through don't matter. And then we'll see another Marvel film or we'll see another DC film that they rip apart because it don't make sense. Like, the whole argument for Batman versus Superman was it didn't follow through. It didn't make sense to people. I don't understand how you can go see Logan and not have the same fucking problem. I don't. And I feel like Batman versus Superman put an extra hour in at least explaining some of that shit. This film just did not care.
Yeah, it just drops you in the universe. And I said this in my review. This film feels like it feels like a retirement party for Hugh Jackman. Where he was a rock star at the beginning. People really loved him, but then the last few years he's just been phoning it in, and we're now all ready for him to go. And I think that's what this is. Like I said, I appreciate the work he's put in. Recently went back and watched the first X-Men film. He's definitely the best thing in it. And I think that's the closest that he's ever been to being the Wolverine from the comics. But the last few years, you got to think about it. He's just been Hugh Jackman. Not to, I mean, look, if I was Hugh Jackman, I'd just be Hugh Jackman at that point too. And he's gone to turning these films, and I think it makes me wonder what would have happened if X-Men, if Origins had been such a shit fest. Because I think after Origins turned into a shit fest, that's when you saw this whole change from Fox to get even to get as far away from being comic booky as possible. Because you got to think about it. You had X2, and everybody always talks about that White House scene with Nightcrawler and things like that. Obviously, X3 didn't go where it needed to go, but they were trying to go comic booky there. They had X-Men Origins Wolverine, which again tried to go comic booky. After those two films did not get critical response, what did they do? They then decided to go this this new route with this new timeline where they don't explain anything, nothing's connected to each other, but they kind of sort of are, and they don't explain anything. Like ever since then, it just went downhill, and it makes me wonder: had they not had made such a shit fest, because at that point they had these actors who were kind of big names who weren't going to continue to put their names on shitty films, especially when Marvel Studios was over there, making $1 billion films. So they had to find a way to keep these actors there, and it feels like they did it by running away from the identity of the X-Men, and that's just what we've gotten now. So again, I think here's the thing. I think if people have liked the previous X-Men films, with the exclusion of Apocalypse, if you like First Class, if you like Days of Future Past, if you like the Wolverine, I think you're gonna like this film.
I don't see why you're not gonna like it. Honestly, you liked all that other trash shit. I don't know why you wouldn't like this. Like, I like First Class. I don't think the writing is anywhere near this as good as First Class was.
No,
That's
it's
just
not.
me.
It's not. No.
Fucking R rating that they gave this film. Like, I saw somebody talking about how the Alamo in Alamo Draft House is talking about telling parents that this film is rated R. You might not need to bring your kids. If you took your kids to see all the other X-Men films, you're not gonna go take this in there because Professor Xavier uses the F word. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, the cutting off of the arms, it's not that brutal. The stabbing in the face stuff is still the stabbing that Wolverine has done in the other films. There's just blood leaking out. It's not that much more brutal. This film could have easily gotten a PG-13 rating and would have been just fucking fine. Like, that whole them trying to sell you on this R rating shit, this is nowhere near the reason why Deadpool got an R rating. Okay? They're not on the same level. And Deadpool is a better film than this, by far. Like, I'm not even going to debate that. Yeah, First person I see that says Logan is better than Deadpool can go die.
Yeah, it's not even close. It's not even
go die.
It's not even close. Don't even do that.
Nah, it's not. They're not on the same level of dope films. Okay, my God, that whole R rating shit that was such a gimmick. This film did not need an R rating.
Yeah, no.
It was a hard. At best, it's a hard PG-13.
Yeah,
at best. But I've seen PG-13 films that are worse.
Well, I mean, you know what? I think that he does stab a lot of people in the face. Not a lot of people, but there's enough stabbing in the face that I can see why they gave it an R rating. But you're right, it's not a Deadpool R rating. Like Deadpool, I believe, came close to an NC-17 rating. Logan definitely isn't that.
There is a dick in Deadpool.
Yeah, there's none of that here.
Okay.
There's none of that. There's none of that.
Film is the one chasing the girl.
All right. So I've already given my rating on this one. What would you give this rating out of 10?
2 out of 5.
Come on, man. 10, man. 10.
Oh, I know. I forget. It's a 3.5 out of 10.
Come on, really? A 3.5 out of 10? We said it's not a bad film. A 3.5 is a bad film, dude.
But it's fucking boring, man. It's a 4 out of 10, and the more I talk about it, the more boring it gets.
Oh man, I wasn't even that bad. Jeez. I'm
taking points away from hype because they're giving this shit has hype behind.
You're going for hype. Okay, I get you.
And they're giving it the black and white treatment. They're talking about it, and also calling it a western. It is so not a fucking western.
They watch a western at one point in the film.
That's it. They do. But this film is absolutely not a western. As a person who grew up in a house with a pops who watched nothing but westerns, this film is not a western. There's just a lot of dirt and gravel. All right, get out of here, man. Yeah, fuck that. 4 out of 10. Try hard ass movie. Get out of here, man.
There you guys have it. That's Phenom's rating for this film. And you know what? And I can't even fault him on that one because you know what? The hype that people are getting in this film and the stuff that I saw from people with this film, I was like, yo, this is one of those things where you're making me hate the film now. Like, I didn't hate it when I walked out, but hearing the way people are just falling over this as if it's some, like, great, it's not even going to be it's not even going to be in the top 5, top 10 of comic book films. It won't be. It won't because it tries so hard not to be a comic book film.
I can't believe this motherfucker is really trying to get an Oscar nomination for this film.
Oh, that's what we laughed. There's gonna be part like Wanga hit me up. He's like, I know exactly the part of the film that you guys laughed at, and I was like, yes, because you're gonna know, you're gonna see it, and you're just gonna like. I'm sorry, this is just not what I was looking for. People are always going, well, it's based off the Old Man Logan story. Listen, first of all, the Old Man Logan story from the comics is not good to begin with.
I'm reading that shit right now, and I don't like the artwork, and I don't understand what the fuck. Like everybody's conversation is confusing.
It's not a good Logan or Wolverine story. Everything around it might be interesting in the world. I think the newer Old Man Logan story is fine, but the old Mark Millar one, I think from 2013, I think that's the year it is. That's not a good story. It's not a good Wolverine story. It's not a good Logan story at all. And yeah, so that's just not what you want. So, and here's the thing: when people want to see Wolverine, I don't want to see my Wolverine with asthma. I'm gonna leave it there. We might do a spoiler review at some point. I think we'll probably have to, so I can go further into detail on that one. But yeah, man, I'm not here for wheezing Wolverine, yo. not here for that, yo.
I hope y'all enjoy the fuck out of it since you're paying to go see it. I'm not paying to see this shit.
Yo, yeah, no. Again, this is gonna be one of those comic book films that I do not go to. Like a lot of times, I'll see it when it comes out. No, I'll see it when we get the screener for it. Then I'll go out and I'll pay for it and go see it again. I'm not doing that for this film because I don't want to sit there for it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, right? 2 hours and 17 minutes of boring. I'm no. That's too much. That's just too much. So.
If you like Morgan, you'll love Logan.
Oh, you know what film it reminded me of, and I think you saw this with us. You saw Hannah, right?
Fucking hate that movie.
It reminds me of Hannah. It's that art house action film shit where you're waiting for action and you get action like once every blue moon, and the rest of the film is boring as shit in between. That's what this film reminds me of. It reminds me of Hannah, right down to, remember when Hannah came out, critics saying it was the greatest action film of the year, and I was like, action. There was no action in this film. That's what it reminds me. It reminds me of Hannah.
Like, there's no way you see John Wick 2 and you go see Hannah and you go. There's no way you see John Wick 2 and you go see Logan and you go, Logan is a better action film. Like, it's the best action film this year.
I saw somebody on Twitter try to say its action is on par with John Wick 2.
Nope. Go fall on your sword. It's not at all on the level as John Wick 2. John Wick Chapter 2 is action.
I think that's my problem too. It's like, if you like the film, you like the film. Like I said, my rating on this was way higher than Phenom's. And you guys know how I feel about these X-Men films. I'm not a fan. But you don't have to lie. You know, for the first part, most people are going to see this shit anyway. Even the people that say, oh, I'm not going to go see it, you're going to go see the film. You are. You're going to go see it because you're going to be curious enough, and you're too much of a comic fan not to fucking see it. All right? So you're going to go see it. You don't have to fucking lie. You don't have to make, like, we've seen John Wick 2. We've seen Logan. There's no way in hell you say that the action in Logan is on par with John Wick 2. It's not. It's quick cut scenes. There's a lot of up close and personal, so you can't really see what's going on. And it's kind of gimmicky. The John Wick stuff, they pull that camera back and you see some shit, you know? You know, that pencil scene in in John Wick 2.
Nothing in Logan was that hard to watch.
Right.
Nothing in Logan. But that's a similar, like you brought up with the Hannah stuff. That's a similar trope that they like to do with these art house action films. It's not really about the action at all. It's about the drama and feelings of the drama. Because in Hannah it was the same thing. This girl who was trained to be an assassin that actually can't assassinate shit and doesn't fight her own battles, and people just be dying around her. And at the end, the woman slides down a damn roller coaster and damn near kills herself. And Hannah stabs her at the end, and it goes, Hannah. Morgan is a film about a genetic being. It's some type of science experiment that they grow into a human like splice, but she has a really nasty attitude. Fucks up one dude. He stabs a woman in the eye because she gets pissed at her.
Are you talking about Morgan? Yes. Oh God.
Morgan kills another person the exact same way that she stabbed the other woman in the eye, and then runs into the forest and gets shot by a better version of her. And then it goes Morgan. Logan is the same way. Logan is a film about a dude who is fucking basically dying, and he doesn't want to live anymore, and he's lost all hope in the world. and every once in a while he got to pull them claws out, but not a whole lot over 2 hours and some minutes. And then at the end, some shit happens, and Logan. It is the same formula for every film. That's why I'm not moved by it. I see what they're doing. I know an Oscar bait film when I see one. Too bad it's fucking March, dude. Good luck. It's not happening here. Okay, you tried it, sir.
Oh,
you tried.
God damn it. Yeah. So
Logan. It really did say Logan. It
really did. And I think that's when that was our last laughing fit when we bust out laugh. I was like, yo, and I think that really pissed some people off because I think there were some people crying at that point in the film, and I was just, I couldn't help myself but laugh. I was bored out of my mind at some points in this film. So, all right, guys, time to get out of here. Thank you guys for listening. Again, that's our review for Logan. Next week we'll be going Kong Skull Island, and then the week after that we have Beauty and the Beast, and there might be a few more movies in between there too. So just stay tuned. MTR Network .net, MTR Network on iTunes, Stitcher Radio. Keep listening to us and let us know what you guys think. And until next time, we're out of here. Peace.
Logan.